Hey guys, we are talking about the 12 books I read in November. I am channeling my inner Medusa because we got a couple of Medusas this month. Anyways, let's begin. So the first book I read in November is His Grace the Duke. It is the second book to Beautiful Things. I have the book. I think it's called Beautiful Things, but if I'm wrong, it doesn't matter because I will put the book here. If you missed my last video, I will give you a quick recap. It's very Bridgerton. I think Kate falling in love with the three brothers and the three brothers falling in love with Kate. That is basically the first book. And you know, with the first book, I was like, yes girl, get your three men. No man can tie you down. But now with this book, I'm like, girl, you a hoe. Because after she's professing all her love to one guy, hours later, she's saying to another guy, "You've filled my dreams since the first time I met you." And I'm like, what? And then hours later, she's seducing the third guy. So I'm not in girl power mode anymore. I'm in like, girl, this feels like you're leading all of them on and it's kind of unfair because you want them to be loyal to you and only you, but you can go back and forth on who you want. I mentioned that with the first book, this felt different to the other books where there's one girl and two guys or three guys or four guys, because every time that dynamic is in a book, it basically just turns into smut. And I was saying this was different because the first book felt very romantic. It didn't feel very lustful, even with the three guys. And I take that back now because this was just full of smut. The only thing going on in this book is Rosalie and James throwing this engagement party for the Duke. Then smut. You think the spice is all sweet and innocent because the setting is like Bridgerton and the covers are so cute and florally. Dare I say, this is dirtier than a lot of other one girl, multiple guys books I've read. Ladies, you could be on a bus or a subway and you would get away with looking like you're just reading some sweet little romance novel. But you're not. Okay, next we have This Monster of Mine. It took me a few chapters to get into it. It's always hard entering into a new world where there's made up words and terms, and for some reason these words and terms are never in the glossary. And the words that are usually in the book glossary are words I don't even care to know the definition for, but the words I do need a definition for are never in the glossary. It's the same thing that happened with Anathema. Anyways, reading this book, it felt like there was so much going on, but there really isn't. When you break it down, it's a pretty simple story. So our FMC is Sarai. Sarai was pushed off a tower. She survived, shockingly enough, but her body is covered in scars. Her fingers were all bent and broken. She literally had to get a new face. So we jump in 4 years later and she's seeking out revenge. Duh, why wouldn't she be? But to get her revenge, she needs to go back to the place where it happened, and she can't afford to go back there, hence it being 4 years. So she obviously gets back there, but she has to work under the man she believes killed her 4 years ago. So we've got our morally gray man, we got some magic, we got some political corruption, we basically have a murder mystery since we have a girl trying to figure out who killed her and why they pushed her off the tower. I enjoyed it. I don't know if this is a good or bad thing, but I noticed that once there starts to be a little spark between people in a book, it's hard not to think about it because you want to know how the love aspect is going to turn out, but then you also need to focus on everything else that's happening. And most of the time, the plot starts getting blurry in the background and we start hearing more about the romance. And I feel like this was the opposite. I love that this book got me more interested in the plot and not so much with the romance. There is romance, don't get me wrong. It was slow, it was cautious, but again, the plot was interesting enough where my attention wasn't being pulled away from the romance. Okay, next we have Mouthful of Birds. Don't let the pretty cover fool you. This is a book full of short stories. This would have been perfect for Halloween. The stories are eerie and weird and will make you confused, and you're just gonna be like, what the F did I just read? Think American Horror Story vibes. They're not technically scary stories, but it's strange and creepy. It's kind of like your dreams where they just don't make any sense. For example, we have a story where a mom throws up her baby. We have another story where a girl likes eating live birds. We have another story where a man kills his daughter by stepping on her. I feel like the best stories were at the beginning of this book. Towards the middle or towards the end, the stories were starting to get boring. Did I read this book because of the pretty butterfly cover? Yes. other than that, it was just okay. The next thing I read was The Will of the Many. I'm gonna need to grab my husband for this because he wanted to reread this before the next book came out, and I told him, I was like, okay, I'll read it with you. I always take notes of the books I've read, so I obviously don't forget in these videos, but I took 0 notes because I just want to go off memory, and I can have my husband for backup if I forget anything or if I get anything wrong. So let me go grab him. Will that work? Yeah? You can look a little happy, baby. Okay, I would start like something like this. Okay.
Don't give spoilers. Just be like...
I literally never give... That's the whole point of my thing, is to know spoilers, because I hate... Why would I give spoilers?
I don't know.
The whole point is the books. I have a feeling you would give spoilers, because if you correct me, it would be a spoiler.
No, I'm not going to say anything.
Okay, because I would start out... I usually start with the first chapter, so it's not a spoiler. I would say something like, okay, there's a 17-year-old boy named... Oh my gosh. Vic? Vin?
Oh my god.
See, that's all I need you. This.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's this guy
Yeah, I want to see your version.
who lives in this land. So there's this guy that lives in this land, and...
You have to convince them.
No, I'm talking to you, I'm not talking to them.
You wouldn't convince me.
I know.
Okay, convince
There's
me.
this guy that lives in this land.
A guy?
Yes.
How old is he? Is he old man? He's a teenager? He's...
Well, that's for you to find out.
A guy lives on the land?
Yeah.
So every single book?
Yes. He doesn't want to submit to the land's authority.
Okay.
And then, so he's like treated poorly because of that. But he has secrets. And that's why he doesn't want to give in to their authority.
Okay.
Some things happen, and then he has to go to, I can say he goes to an academy to uncover other secrets. And then...
It's like the most vague, like you're giving
Yes,
nothing.
I am
A
giving
boy
it.
going to academy, that's literally like every other book.
True.
I don't even know what that was, babe.
Good. That was the goal.
No! My turn. 17-year-old boy named Viz working in a jail. Some guy, old skizzer, he's shown like he's in the military or a cop or something. It's the military. Oh, skizzer when he's not.
Military.
Okay, yeah, but he's a politician though.
He's military though.
But he's also a politician?
Yes.
In the military?
Because the government is divided by 3 branches. Governance, religion, and military. And he's a military senator.
Okay. So he's like, hey boy, I'm gonna talk about this like how I explained it to you. He's like, I need to talk to someone down there in the jail. And Viz is like, yeah, come follow me. Old Skizzer is talking to that guy in prison. Viz is like being a creep and listening in on the conversation. And that's how they meet. I'm just giving the meet cute of Viz and Old Skizzer. Is that not true?
He's not being a creeper.
You know, he's kind of being a creep. He's listening. He's listening in on their conversation. He shouldn't be doing that.
It's not his fault he understands this
foreign language. But like he can go away and not listen. And once he heard that foreign language, he was like, oh, I need to listen. That's being a creep. So that's their meet cute. So the first section of the book is Viz training because Old Skizzer wants Viz to join this academy. Is there a name for the academy?
The academy.
The academy? So yeah, the first chunk of the book is Viz training. The next chunk is the academy. And then the last chunk is I keep wanting to say Hunger Games.
It's kind of Hunger Games.
Like the Hunger Games. The book overall wasn't bad. But if you break down the story, it actually seems pretty simple.
That's fair. The next book is not that way.
Okay. We'll get there. So like nothing intrigued me about it because again, boy getting strong, school, Hunger Games. I feel like I've read like 3-4 books like that already.
Yeah.
My beef is that since this is in Viz's point of view this whole time, and yes, he is a smart 17-year-old boy, it doesn't sound like it's his mind. It sounds like I'm reading the author talking about Viz. So I didn't like that. I wish it came from a third point of view and then we had Viz talking because, yeah, that was like disconnecting him in my brain. You said you kind of agree with that.
I get it.
Because it felt like a 30...
I get it. I do get it.
Okay. 2, I feel like there was never any... Not drama or... What's the word I'm looking for? I already said it in this video. There's not a lot of clashing, drama. not climax. There's not a lot of
Like
tension.
consequences.
No,
for
no,
his
no.
actions,
Like, it's going way too smoothly for him.
Yes.
Let's say he sees a monster. Oh, monster goes away. Let's say he has to fight someone. Oh, he wins. Like, there's not even a little bit of tension, like, oh my gosh, what's gonna happen? So it's kind of like, I didn't care because everything was gonna all work out for him. So it was like, what was the point? It wasn't leading anywhere where I wanted to continue. I could have lived with him just telling me what it was about. I will say though, that ending, that's when I was like, oh, like that didn't blow my mind, but I was like, oh, finally, like something different. But then I think since everything before that wasn't good enough, I was like, is the second book gonna be as good as the ending? Like, if we got that much, not plot twist, if we got that much, I guess it was kind of like a plot. It was a plot. It was, because I was like, what? So if we got that much drama, if we got that much tension with the second book, then maybe. But you said it wasn't like that the whole time.
Well, I mean, it's different than the first one.
But you're not saying it's better.
I liked it better.
Okay.
A lot of people who really like the first book do not like the second book.
Why? Interesting. Because there was nothing going on in the first book. I've never looked at reviews or TikToks, people talking about it. No, but I'm just wondering, what's the appeal? What do people say they love about it? What do you really like about it?
The ending is the best.
That's it?
It is the best part.
No, but the people who love The Will of the Many, like, it can't just be the ending they love. There's a reason they love the book.
I think they like that he's smarter than everybody. And
Okay.
And that your complaints about it, I think, is what they like about it.
Okay.
That it's all in his head, and that he's better. He outsmarts everyone, and he always finds a way out.
No, I like that.
Okay.
I'm saying more it's the author, how he's a very smart 17-year-old boy, but his brain, or at least, since the author, it's the brain of how old is he, remember? 30, 40, the author?
I don't know.
It's the brain of a 30 plus 40-year-old. So even though he can be an extremely smart 17-year-old, it's so different how he talks versus his brain working. But again, it's not that, it has nothing to do with how smart he is. It's just how it's written. It sounds like I'm reading an author's words. Like I'm not reading.
No, I get it.
But yeah, even putting the point of view aside, the story itself, like I needed more.
I mean, a lot of people in the second book thought it was very confusing, but I didn't think it was.
I would rather have that.
I didn't think it was confusing. So
Okay.
I can't say, like.
Yeah, the first one was just too straightforward for me. Like there was no.
Try reading it.
I might eventually.
Eventually, it's right there. You might like the second book.
Okay.
Better.
Okay.
So it gets really crazy at the end.
With the second one? Can you tell me what happens with him and his lover?
No, I cannot.
Does Ulskizzer see his brother?
I will not comment
anything
on the second book. No spoilers.
You have to say thanks for watching this.
Thanks for watching.
That's it?
Goodbye.
Thanks for watching. Goodbye. You have to look at the camera.
I did. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.
Okay. Okay, next I read The Coven. The beginning really reminded me of Phantasma. Both FMCs are necromancers who just lost their mothers. They're both the eldest siblings who want to protect the younger siblings. They both meet men who are I can't say that because it would be a spoiler. And both of these girls make a deal with these men to be protected. So the differences are she goes off to compete in games to save her sister, and she goes to witch school. There was a little bit more depth to Phantasma. This book was written like a young adult book, just throwing some spice in. So we have the FMC Willow. Willow's mom ran away from the witches a long time ago to protect her children. And now we have Gray, he's our MMC. He's a vessel, basically a demon living in a human's body. He's been sent to bring Willow to the Witch Academy. She doesn't want to go to the Witch Academy, and he underestimates how strong she is. There's a big cat and mouse chase between Willow and Gray, but he obviously catches her and brings her to the academy. Oh, and Gray is also a professor at the academy, so that's gonna happen. That's all I'm gonna give you. I don't know how I didn't catch the plot twist because it was just like Phantasma, but it still got me. The first book did what it was supposed to do because it drew me in enough to make me want to read the second book. So now we have The Curse. I'm excited. The ending of the first book pumped me up, but my energy went from here and then very quickly went down, like just in the first few chapters of this book. Because after the drama settled down, like nothing else was happening anymore. Way more smut. I've mentioned that I noticed that there's a theme when authors start adding more smut. It's because the plot is pretty weak. With this book, there's more back and forth bickering between Willow and Gray. We have a constant battle with Willow loving Gray but wanting to kill him. And we have Gray being patient with her, knowing she'll come around. That was mostly the second book. Two stubborn people butting heads all the time. Oh, did I mention that he stabs her in the first book and she stabs him in the second book? I love that. The only book I've ever really laughed out loud was from Blood of Hercules. But I laughed out loud when she was like, he fucking stabbed me! Anyways, the book ended happy, so I didn't feel the need to read the third book. It was just a pretty simple read. Like I said, it was written more like a young adult book. Okay, next I go into From Blood and Ash. We have another dainty, well-guarded teenage girl living in a pretty castle. I'm just gonna call her by her nickname, Poppy. Poppy is the maiden. She's constantly covered. Only a handful of people have ever seen her full face. She is untouched. She is pure. And we have the MMC Hawk. I love their little meet cute. I will not tell you how they meet, but since she is masked, she's hoping that he won't recognize her when they cross paths again. So of course you're wondering, when they do meet again, does he recognize her? He's heard her voice that first time when she was fully covered, but she doesn't speak a lot when she's being the maiden. So that's what's happening between them. With the book, we have another powerful kingdom. We're gonna have that typical rebel group as a conflict. We also have the Craven. They remind me of zombies. They're the undead who feast on mortals. We're gonna have betrayal in this book. We're gonna have another girl who lets her guard down and regrets it. We get a little spice. This book was the perfect flow. I'm adding it to my just one more chapter. It was the strangest thing because I didn't feel that connected to the characters. It could be because it's another teenage girl living in a castle. I've lost count of how many books I've read that start out like that. Or because it felt like another book where I was watching from afar and not in it, yet reading it felt just like my other books where I couldn't put the book down. Every time I thought I could take a break, once I got to the end of the chapter, I was like, I can't end right now. Every time I was ready for bed, another chapter won't take too long. I say I wasn't connected to the characters, yet it's the first time I cried in a long time when a character died. I was like, wait, why am I crying? Am I near my period? Because I very rarely cry when a character dies. And it's not even a character I knew for a long time. I didn't even know this character for one whole book. So finishing the book, again, it's weird because even though I basically had no complaints, I was intrigued the whole time. For some reason, it wasn't like one of those books where I was like, oh my gosh, I need to read the next book. I had more of that reading the Coven. Like when I was done with the first one, I was like, okay, I need to read the second one. But with this, even though this is way better than the Coven, I would have been okay not continuing to the next book. Mostly because towards the end, it was reminding me of Guild and a little bit of Metal Slinger. And even though there were so many shock factors, I had no idea this book was about. I had no idea that Hawk was a and the possibility that Poppy could be a. Those shock factors were still not enough to make me crave to read the next book, but I still added the second book to my Libby app. I actually got it yesterday on Libby and started reading. And yeah, reading the second book, I'm kind of like, I probably would be okay not reading this series, but I'm still gonna finish it. I think I'm like 20% in. I think it's just so similar to a few books I've read. It's like not surprising anymore. It's kind of like I know where this series is gonna go, but this might be a tiny spoiler, but I am thoroughly enjoying my books this month of my girls stabbing their boys in the heart. Makes me feel all warm inside. You go, girls. Next we have If Looks Could Kill. This is another rare one I didn't find off TikTok. I was just in Barnes & Nobles and I really liked the cover. I didn't know we could ever get the POV of the serial killer because the books I've read involving serial killers is not from their personal POV. So it was weird hearing the mind of a serial killer. Jack, he said something like, instead of a uterus to brew, I'm gonna need a kidney instead. Jack's out here murdering women for their uteruses, for their uteruses, and their organs. He's all the way in London, by the way, and our female character Tabitha is in New York. Oh, and this is also during the late 1800s. It took me a few chapters and I was like, oh, this is Jack the Ripper Jack, no wonder. Oh, did I mention Medusa is in this too? So it's like historical fiction with mythology, but it somehow works. I was so close to DNFing because nothing was pulling me in. I was actually really excited when I started the book because I was like, oh, thank God there's no vampires and dragons and fairies and beasts. This seems like it's going to be some kind of mystery book. I really wanted to know what this serial killer in London had to do with these two girls in New York, part of the Salvation Army. Okay, so let me summarize this. So again, we have Jack the Ripper on one end, and then we have Tabitha and Pearl in New York. These young girls work at the Salvation Army. Every day they are trying to spread the word of God. They are trying to get people into church, doing the Lord's work. They are actually more like acquaintances. They're not really friends. Pearl is the more stuck up one, and Tabitha just wants her to relax. And yeah, this is what's mostly happening in a big chunk at the beginning of the book. Just them and their daily lives working at the Salvation Army. So yeah, it just started getting boring. It hit a point where I'm like, okay, you're not pulling me in anymore. It started to pick up when Medusa gets involved with the girls and then when Jack comes to New York. So I can't tell you anything about that because that's the fun part of the book. But yeah, that was mostly it. I did enjoy the end of the book where the author included facts about the real historical figures in this book. She also gave us a little history of the Salvation Army, about the myth of Medusa. But other than that, I would have been fine not reading this book. Okay, next we have Her Soul to Take. I didn't know I could have standards for smut, but you can't deny that there's like well-written smut and then just like generic smut. This was generic smut, but I've seen this pop up on TikToks. I see it displayed in bookstores. So yeah, I thought this was gonna give me something. We have a girl, Raylan, who's moved back to her hometown to go to college. And she's also living in her childhood home, which is basically a cabin in the woods. She loves paranormal activity stuff. She even has a YouTube channel for it. She's very curious about ghosts and spirits. So now we have the MMC, Leon, and he's a demon. These two meet while he's the security guard at the school she goes to. And while she's on the property where a recent death happened at campus, he sees her and that's when he's like, you gotta leave. Girl falls in love with demon, not really a slow burn. They instantly want each other and get with each other pretty quickly. And no offense, but the spice isn't spicy. Honestly, it's pretty vanilla. You can get this spice everywhere. The TikTok I saw about this was about one spice scene, and girls in the comment section were talking about that spice scene because they were like, how did you do this with your men? That also intrigued me because I was like, what spice scene are they talking about? So when I got there, I was like, that's it? That's what everyone's hyped up about? I feel like I've read that spice position in other books, but yeah, I feel like that's what everyone was talking about with this book. Just like most smut, if you throw out the spice, the plot isn't strong. But not only is the plot not strong in this book, the spice isn't either. So since I was a little disappointed with Her Soul to Take, I decided to go in with The Ritual because this, I've seen so many good reviews. I agree with the people. I enjoyed it. This is what I wanted out of Her Soul to Take because it wasn't an instant love. This gave you enough time to see and feel the characters fall in love and seeing the relationship develop over time. So we have Blakely and Riot. In this college, there are lords. It was giving college frat boys, but no, it's way more intense than that. It's more like a mob, a secret society. The lords gotta kill without question, never show weakness. They always have to prove themselves. So now we need the FMC Blakely. She basically belongs to Riot. He's gonna own her. Does she know she's being gifted to him? No. It is a dark romance, but it's not intense as other dark romances. This is more of my intensity, my speed of an actual dark romance, because the dark romance part of this book is just the spice. And if that's not enough for you, I would say you can step up to Insatiable because it involves way more darker stuff. But this kept reminding me of an Insatiable vibe. I've never really enjoyed the romance aspect of a dark romance book because the men in these books are pretty rough. They are possessive obsessive, mean, controlling. That never feels like love to me. But this is actually a rare one where I was like, oh my gosh, wait, is there actually love in this book? Am I starting to get invested in their relationship? I knew I was invested when there was it wasn't a betrayal, but it wasn't just a regular fight. Basically, something intense happened between the two of them, and I was like, no, that can't happen. You guys love each other. I knew I enjoyed it because I couldn't put my Kindle down, and even though it's a dark romance and it's full of spice, there was actually a plot going on. This is a rare dark romance I actually enjoyed. Okay, so next we have Bonds of Hercules. This is very slow compared to the first book. With the first book, I rarely took a break reading this. There was so much going on. It was more stressful. You were struggling with Alexis and her trying to make it out alive through her abusive parents, her bullies at school, then suddenly thrown into another world where she has to instantly fight to the death. Then she goes back to another school with more bully classmates, her bully mentors, her bully teachers, people and monsters trying to kill her. She could never catch a break. So now with this book, she's out of school, and now we have people who actually like her and want to protect her. So it's less dramatic. Honestly, I wasn't a huge fan of having more and more of the guy's perspective. I loved Alexis because of her sarcasm and her sassiness, and we get less of that in this book. And in the first book, Alexis said, a man was speaking, so I stopped listening. So I was like, okay, then why are we getting more men's perspective in this book, huh? I didn't hate that. I just wanted more of Alexis's point of view. Also, the four main men were assholes to Alexis in this book. They were cruel and nasty towards Alexis. And then now in this book, they're the complete opposite. They're like little puppy dogs. Like, they lost all their edge. They all actually pissed me off in the first book. And now I'm like, okay, now you guys are way too nice. I will say though, I'm pretty sure Blood of Hercules was my first one girl, multiple guys dynamic, because I read this in February, and since then I've read more and more books like that, and I hated that. When I read that for the first time, I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that could happen in a book. So yeah, I hated that aspect, because when that's introduced into a book, it becomes more about the smut, like I said, and less about the plot. But now with this second book and that dynamic, I actually loved it. I was like, oh my gosh, this actually feels like love and not smut. I thought I had that with Beautiful Things, but then again, once I got to the second book, I was like, oh, I was wrong. This is just smut again. So it's just funny how I hated the whole two husbands dynamic in the first book, and now I'm loving it in the second book. Anyways, I enjoyed it. I just love the first book way more. I have a feeling the third book is gonna be more of Medusa's point of view. When we got Medusa's point of view towards the end of the book, I was like, her brain sounds exactly like Alexis's. How she speaks sounds just like her. Can you make her sound a little bit different, please? Okay, last we have A Curse of Shadows and Ice. Guys, you don't know how excited I got when the FMC mentions that she grabbed a knife and hid it under her pillow. I was like, there's no way I'm gonna have 3 books this month where the FMC stabs the MMC in the heart. No way. But she does it. I was very excited. Just letting you ladies know, if you ever want to read a book where it involves woman stabbing man in heart. Okay, on to the book. There is one sentence in this book that basically summarizes it. The most powerful man in the world does not marry an unknown princess from a kingdom that's useless to him for no reason. So the FMC Arabella. She's that older sister again. She has the black hair. She is the black sheep of the family. She's seen as cursed. She's the outcast. And of course, her younger blonde sister is the princess everyone loves. So that most powerful man, Felix, he steps into the picture because he wants to marry Arabella. Her dad's basically like, here, take her, I don't want her. I won't tell you why Felix wants to marry this random princess, but of course, Arabella doesn't want this. She loves this boy named Nathaniel, but she can't say no to her father. So she marries this man who has black veins all over his face and body. It was kind of reminding me of Slade in Guild. So that's all I'm gonna say. Is she gonna fall in love with him? Is she gonna run away with Nathaniel? Why does he want her in the first place? Is Felix going to be cruel? The dynamic reminded me of Amid Clouds and Bones and a little bit of Farah and Tamlin. Kind of like, oh, if you stay with me long enough, if you just give me a chance, you'll learn to love me vibes. But all three of these books have a different outcome with who the girl ends up choosing, so I'm not giving any spoilers. I enjoyed it though because I really wanted to know what was going to happen with this curse, a curse of shadows and ice. I was stressing because I thought this was going to be another 3-book series, and this book just came out and I didn't want to wait for the next one. So yeah, it's a one and done book, thank God. But because of that, the ending was okay. Okay, so now let's rate these 12 books. Number 12 was Mouthful of Birds. It's just not something I would read again. 11, If Looks Could Kill. 10, His Grace the Duke. 9, The Cursed. 8, Her Soul to Take. Did I talk about The Cursed? I talked about The Cursed, right? Because I talk about her stabbing him. The Cursed was more like smut. It was completely different for how I felt about The Coven, because I did really like The Coven. 6 and 7 are The Coven and A Curse of Shadows and Ice. They have similar vibes, but I'm tired of the Academy thing, so I'm putting A Curse of Shadows above The Coven. Number 5, The Will of the Many. Even though this is obviously written better than all of these books, nothing about it really intrigued me. Someone could have just told me the story and I would have been satisfied. Number 4 was This Monster of Mine. Number 3, From Blood and Ash. I hate that I'm going to admit this. I don't know why I feel embarrassed to say this, but I'm putting The Ritual at number 1 and Bonds of Hercules at number 2. I think since Bonds of Hercules was too chill, even though it was really fun, there was no heart beating, there was no, oh my gosh, what's gonna happen? But with The Ritual, it was sketchy. It made me uncomfortable because I was like, I don't know what's gonna happen and I'm scared. Screw the spice. I know spice is a big part of this book, but again, there's actually a story behind the spice. That is the roundup. This is a rare month where I'm not buying a physical copy of the first book. I just don't feel the need to. If I read Bonds of Hercules on my Kindle, I probably wouldn't have gotten the physical book. I felt like I was gonna love it just as much as the first one, but I didn't. But still, I freaking love the Barnes & Noble's copy with all the flowers. I love my florals, so yeah, I feel like I would stop at these two. Whenever the third one comes out, I will read it on Kindle first before debating on buying a physical copy, but again, I don't think I will. For December though, I'm hoping that this will be the month I'm gonna finish all my physical books that I haven't read yet. I've had the Crescent City series since like March, and I have a bunch of physical books I got for my birthday that I haven't read. So yeah, I'm gonna try to make December my month of reading my physical books I haven't read yet. I will see you guys then. Thank you so much for watching my video, and I'll see you in the next one.